So we filter out some more potential mates there based on sex. And then there are other legal issues regarding who we can marry. Your close relatives, for example, will say, marrying your mom, no, not going to allow it. And people who are already married, but maybe not. These are the sister wives that you may be familiar with from TV. Polygamous marriage, he's married to all four of those women. So, but for most people, those legal issues are going to be more social filtering. So now we get to the issue of race. And until the case of Loving versus Virginia was decided in 1967, and that's a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case, a civil rights decision, there were a number of states, the red states there, not surprisingly perhaps in the South, had miscegenation laws, which were laws against interracial marriage between blacks and whites. And even though this case was decided in 1967, which is more than 45 years ago, and those laws were shot down and made unenforceable, they remained on the books in several states. And it wasn't until 2000 that Alabama finally became the last state to remove those laws from their state constitution. And when they voted on this in 2000, 40% of Alabamans voted to keep those laws on the state constitution. So we still see a lot of significance of race, even though it's often uncomfortable to admit. And in recognition of the significance of the Loving decision in a larger context, and that is Mr. and Mrs. Loving up there in the corner, Mildred Loving, before she died in 2008, made a statement about same-sex marriage and basically supported it, saying people have a right to be married if they love each other, regardless of their personal characteristics. So, 1967, these laws were shot down. But 1968, anybody know who this is, by the way? Captain Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, the original Star Trek series, and his communications officer, Lieutenant Uhura. They had the first black-white interracial kiss on television in 1968. So shortly after that, and we can't miss the opportunity to see that on YouTube, right?
I'm so very frightened. That's the way they want you to feel. Makes them think that they're alive. I wish I could stop dreaming. Try not to think of them. Try.
I'm thinking of all the times on the Enterprise when I was scared to death. And I would see you so busy at your command. And I would hear your voice from all parts of the ship. And my fears would fade. And now they're making me tremble. But I'm not afraid. I am not afraid.
So finally they get to the kiss, and the context of that is, and I know it's going to sound hokey, but they're under mind control by these telekinetic aliens who are, in love also with Plato, so that's why they're dressed like they are. But this scene had to be shot at the end of the day when everybody was gone from the set. It had to be approved by the censors, had to be filmed in two versions, one with the kiss, one without the kiss, just to make sure it was going to get on TV. And you're probably sitting there saying, well, that just seems like a pretty random thing to throw in this presentation about free will. But this probably wouldn't have gotten on TV had the kiss been their free choice. They were under mind control by the aliens, so they were able to actually sneak it through the censors. So it's random, but a little bit not random as well. Plus it's Star Trek, so why not use that opportunity? Now, at the time of the Loving decision, and the time that this clip was on TV and was so incredibly controversial, less than 1% of U.S. marriages were interracial. Today that number is 15% of all new marriages are interracial marriages. And that's about 1 in 7 of all new marriages today. 4 in 10 Americans believe that this is a positive change, and about a third of all Americans have a family member who's involved in an interracial relationship. So it's becoming much more common. But we still have some filtering. Those people from Alabama, 40% of voters remind us that they're still filtering of potential mates by race and ethnicity. Religion. I'm going to move on. I'm running short on time. But religion also serves as a filter. This can be a particularly big deal for parents and families, even if they're not currently participating or practicing in their religion or their faith service. It still can be important. The major U.S. religions have all taken the position that interfaith marriage will strengthen faith and have supported it. So you can just take a minute to look at that chart. But you get the idea. We filtered out some more people. And most people are going to marry within their same social class. And SES stands for socioeconomic status. And that's basically a combination of our income and our education and our occupation. But most of us marry someone who's like us in social class. Even people from different racial and ethnic groups, when there's intermarriage between race and ethnicities, still tend to marry someone like us in social class. And parents don't have to exert much pressure here because communities tend to be organized by social class. Our schools, our churches, our recreation leagues, the social spaces that we're in, we tend to meet people who are like us economically. And trends in marriage rates appear, especially the types of marriages or weddings that are hyped in the media, appear to be related specifically to social class. By one estimate, the average U.S. wedding is now a $30,000 event, in case you were wondering how much those things tend to cost. And I didn't look up how much the royal wedding cost, but I'm guessing it was a little more. Some trend watchers are now wondering if marriage is going to become an upper class event. So we have some more filtering. And now we get to propinquity, which is a really cool word. Use it in a sentence at a party. Basically, it means geographic nearness. For most of the last century, most of us married someone that lived within 20 miles or so of our home. But now we've got the internet that's going to help us meet people far and wide. And the internet's really strongly impacting this particular filter. It's a $1 billion a year industry. There are 2,500 online dating sites in the U.S. alone, maybe 8,000 worldwide. And they offer lots of variety. There's Dating Mobi that offers cell phone dating and text dating. You don't have to leave the comfort of your own cell phone. There's Herpes Date. That's pretty self-explanatory. There's Date My Pet, where you can find dating partners for you and your pet. Plus, there are sites that are focusing on new ways of dating. Grouper that you see up there is group dating. You get with a couple of your friends and you register, and Facebook will match you, or through a Facebook app, they'll match you with a group of other friends who want to go out, and you all go out on a group date. So I guess there's safety in numbers. And they actually advertise to take your wingman with you on that website. And by the way, some industry data suggests that up to 40% of the people who regularly use dating sites are already married. So, okay, so a little more filtering, and we go down to what we'll call personality. We look for people who share our values and our beliefs. We look for people who have similar personalities. We look for people that we just plain like. And certainly, we're not going to like everyone. So we filter out all those people that we're not so compatible with. And congratulations, you have found your future mate. It's your free choice. You can choose from any of the people in that bottom box, right? So the good news is that with all the factors I've been talking about, the change in the internet, changing attitudes toward race, changing attitudes toward same-sex marriage, that box is actually getting a lot wider. But real quickly, I do have to go back to the idea that it's a love story. Let's return to some romance. These are my grandparents, Gracie and Costley. And they were married in the late 1920s. And he died very young. He died in his 50s, and she never remarried, and she died when she was 95. And she always told her grandchildren that she had married, I'm quoting, the handsomest man in the world. And when she was in her 90s, she wrote me a letter, pen and paper, you know, she loved the stamp. And she told me the story about how they met. She remembered that it was a Tuesday, and she remembered the date in April that she first saw him and said, that's the man that I'm going to marry. So the heart wants what the heart wants, right? 70% of us believe in love at first sight. So I think we do have these social filters, but we do have the romance. So that's it with Grace and Coss at the end. Thank you.